everyone to economics, the science of scarcity. Now, economics is basically about the real life around you. Perhaps the best definition of economics was given about more than a century back by Alfred Marshall. And he defined economics as the study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. And indeed, economics is real life around us. It is all about buying, selling, investing, saving, threatening, and all the things that we do in our real life. And economics, in doing and fulfilling and making all these decisions, it's basically trying to manage the scarce resources. And these scarce resources we can classify into 4 categories traditionally. That's land, labor, capital, and enterprise. Economics comes from the word economy. And economy comes from the word oikonomos, which basically means one who manages a household. And really, there is not much difference between a household and an economy. Just like a household manages its scarce resources among its different members, and a household makes decisions like who will get that extra dessert after dinner, who will get to watch the favorite show on television. In exactly the same way, all the scarce resources that an economy has, the economy also decides how to divide these among the different uses of these resources in society. In the process of doing all this, it is extremely important that the policy makers design their policies well. Why this is important, as Keynes has highlighted himself. Keynes, you know, is one of the greatest economists of all times. He has once said that the ideas of economists and political philosophers, both when they are right and they are wrong, have more profound an impact on the economy than we really realize. This means that whatever the policymakers do, whether it may be right or it may be wrong, the impact on the economy is going to be huge. So they should better do what they do very carefully indeed. To give you an example of this, just after the First World War, when Germany was recovering and the government had a huge debt, war debt to repay, at that point of time the government came up with an easy idea. Why not simply print more money? All it requires is paper. And the government started printing money and repaying its debt. The result? Within a short span of just about a few months, from June to December 1922, the prices in Germany increased on an average 15 times. And this was only on an average. If you look at some individual commodities, like take for example, the daily newspaper. Within a span of 1 year, the price of a newspaper, believe it or not, increased in 1 year by 2 million times. And so people, not only economically they were adversely affected, but they were also affected psychologically. So much so that they started suffering from what came to be known as a new disease, cipher stroke. That is the disease in which you go on meaninglessly adding zeros to everything. So when a gentleman was once asked in Germany at that point of time, how many children do you have? And he answered, 2 million. And then realized what he had said, because he had meaninglessly added the zeros. So not just for the policy makers, even for us as voters, it is extremely important which policy makers we elect, because their policies are going to profoundly impact us only in the long run as well as short run. Now, in the process of making good economic decisions, it is important for not just the policymakers but us also to adopt some principles of economics. And these were given by Mankiw quite a few years back. So Mankiw talks about 10 principles of economics, which are like the 10 commandments of life. And these 10 principles we divide into 3 categories. The first 4 are all about you and I, people, how we make our decisions in our life. The next 3 we shall see are about how people interact with each other in the marketplace. And the next 3 we will come to, we will then go from micro to macro level, and we will look at how the economy as a whole works. Beginning with principle 1. people face trade-offs. Trade-offs means nothing comes for free. If you want something, you have to give up something in return. There is a famous saying, there is no such thing as a free lunch. So we all face these trade-offs. When you go to the mall, shopping mall, and you want to be indulging yourself a little, you often wonder whether you should spend that extra money and get into a fancy restaurant, or instead you should go ahead and buy some clothing. You might also wonder how much free time really I have, how much I should study, how much I should work. So these are all trade-offs, because time moves in only one direction, and that is forwards. And we have to allocate our time, which is a very, very scarce resource, between alternative uses. Similarly, the economy also has trade-offs. One famous trade-off, traditionally famous trade-off written in textbooks dating 40-50 years back, is the trade-off between guns and butter. Guns refers to all the defense goods, and butter refers to civilian goods, consumer goods. Guns are needed to protect the country, and butter is needed to improve the standard of living of the people. So this is also a trade-off a society faces. Another famous trade-off, the trade-off between efficiency and equity. Efficiency refers to basically making the size of the economic pie bigger. That means your national income should be maximized. Equity, on the other hand, talks about distributing this pie or distributing this cake more equally between the people, where the concentration shifts and the size of the pie may actually get smaller. So this is a trade-off a government has to face all the time. If the government wants to tax the rich and distribute the money as subsidies among the poor, for example, then the government will find that taxing the rich reduces their incentive to work, and they work less, so that the size of the economic pie gets smaller. On the other hand, the people who are gaining from the subsidies from the government, they are better off, and there is a more equal distribution of income. So this is one trade-off that the economy faces. The second principle. So these are some of the costs, the opportunity costs as we call it in economics, which go beyond the veil of money. So we are not just here talking about money cost. An economist with its keen eye looks beyond that and pierces the veil of money. And now we are worried about, for example, whether you should go to college and get a degree, or whether you should work. If you become a famous actress, you will earn so much money. So your opportunity cost of going to college is so much. Or whether you should study the day before the exam, or enjoy and go out on a date. Or you should attend that 7:30 early morning lecture in the class, or sit at home and get one more hour of relaxing sleep and come to college refreshed. So these are all choices, and we decide among them by weighing the benefits and costs of each alternative. Third principle, rational people think at the margin. Now, who are rational people? Rational people are those who systematically and purposefully decide to attain their objectives by working in a particular direction. And what is margin? Margin means the edge. So we always think at the edge, we always think at making marginal changes in whatever activity we are doing. And then we look at what are the benefits and what are the costs of, say for example, studying for one more hour. So the question is not to study or to study, you have to study. Without studying you cannot get good grades. But once you have finished studying, for example, that one more hour, should you spend it revising your syllabus, or should you instead relax yourself and watch television? Principle 4, people respond to incentives. This principle as if is made in order to defend principle 3, which said that rational people think at the margin, which means that you should actually walk up to a vegetable seller and tell the seller you want to buy, say, you want to buy apples, and you tell the seller, I want one apple, I want one more apple. Can you give me one more apple? Can you give me one more apple? If you go on thinking at the margin and taking one apple, the vegetable seller, the fruit seller is going to get fed up and say, please get out of here and tell me how much you want to buy at one go. So this principle comes in. If the previous principle makes it appear that people are stupid, this principle tells you people are not that stupid. So when they are making their marginal decisions, They are actually looking to the marginal benefits and the marginal costs of making that decision. And if some incentives are given to them, they will respond in a particular way. So what is this incentive? The incentive will be when the benefit that you derive, say for example, by studying one more hour, if the benefit that you derive is more than the cost, that is the 1 hour which you give up, then you will go ahead and study for 1 more hour. The moment the benefit of studying goes below the cost, that's when you'll say, this is all, I can't study no more. Because if I do that, then I'm going to get saturated, I will forget what I know, so I have reached my optimum amount of studying. Principle 5, trade can make everyone better off. We are all good at something. Our friends are good at something else. In our family also, some tasks are done by a mother, some tasks are done by the father, some tasks are done by you. And in performing all of these tasks, we are specializing. In exactly the same way, a country specializes. It produces what it can produce the best. And when it does that and produces the maximum possible, then countries can trade, exchange, and then the whole world will be better off. The whole world will have larger production. So trade really can make everybody better off. 6th principle. Markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity. The best defense for this is the communism that came to an end in the 1980s in the erstwhile USSR and also some of the Eastern European countries. Now in these countries at that point of time, these were command economies. So the government was determining who will do what and telling the firms how much to produce, telling the households how much they could consume. And that was really a difficult task, so obviously they had to go wrong. They could not maximize the welfare, they failed. And they were replaced by market economies. And market economy is efficient because it decentralizes decision making. It allows each and every firm to individually decide what to produce and how much to produce and whom to hire. It also allows each and every individual household to decide whom to work for, what to buy, and how to maximize their satisfaction. Market economy, however, has its drawbacks. Nothing is all good. So for example, when in capitalist economies, the size of the national income, national income cake was getting bigger and bigger, they all thought that the benefits of this will trickle down to the poor. And they had a good laugh because trickle down doesn't happen automatically. Today, everybody has given up thinking about the trickle down theory. So you have to make efforts for the benefits to reach the poor. And that is where the government comes in. So just because markets are a good way to organize economic activity, it doesn't mean the government has no role to play. The government has a very big role to play, and today we are talking about welfare states. We are talking about capitalist economies where the government is proactive in many ways. So governments can improve market outcomes. It doesn't mean they have no role to play. And whenever the market fails, whenever demand and supply imbalances are there, or whenever the allocation of resources is not efficient, the government can step in. How can the government step in? What are the things that goes wrong? And what are market failures? Here are some examples and some types of market failure and what the government can do. The first market failure, that is we have market power. Market power basically refers to the power that the company, a firm, a supplier, an institution has over the supply of a good. And with this power, he tends to control the prices. The extreme case of market power, as you all know, is a monopoly, where there is only one producer and one seller in the economy that is maximizing his profit by selling the products at a higher price and lower quantity, because he wants to make the maximum profits. How the government can intervene? The government can encourage competition, or the government can become the competition. So for example, if somebody has a monopoly in a village that there is only one well and all the villagers have to come to that well for drinking water, the government can proactively go and dig some more wells and make it a common situation for everybody, that water is everybody's necessity, everybody's requirement, and so should be free. Another market failure, merit goods. The best examples of merit goods are what you all enjoy: education, also health. Now, merit goods are something that everybody needs, everybody requires. However, if the market supplies them at the market price, not everybody would be able to avail of it. So your education is highly subsidized by the government of India. At the same time, we find that even the medical facilities are heavily subsidized because everybody has a right and everybody requires this minimum from the government. So if the market supplies it, the price will be higher. Then what will happen is everybody will not be able to afford it, and that is when it will be underprovided. So this underprovided and underconsumption problem the government can solve by subsidizing. So education is subsidized, medical facilities are subsidized. Another example of a market failure, externality. An externality is commonly known as a spillover effect or a third party effect. So this is when two people are having a transaction, there is a buyer and there is a seller, and somebody else is getting affected by it. And this somebody else is actually a bystander. He is just been affected by really what was going on. What can be done in this case? And let's look at some more examples. We saw some time back a car going by and those fumes coming out and a cyclist getting affected by it. In the same way, there are industries that pollute the atmosphere. So these are all negative externalities, and these industries should pay for this. They're not paying for it, however. Because they're not paying for it, if they're not charged a pollution tax, then what will happen? The product will be oversupplied by the market. And again, market is failing here. What can the government do? Tax pollution. So the government imposes pollution tax. And the government imposes tax on the car which is giving off fumes. As you know, there is a pollution test of a car, and if the car doesn't satisfy the test, then it can be taxed. Another example could be any type of an instability. Take for instance agricultural production. Now agricultural production is something, especially in a country like India, it depends upon the vagaries of the monsoon. If the monsoon is good, production is good, sales are good, but if the monsoon is bad, production is bad. So much fluctuation in production obviously causes fluctuation in prices, and it plays havoc with the lives of the farmers. So what can the government do? Simply maintain a buffer stock. And in the buffer stock, whenever there is surplus production, prevent the price from falling below a certain level. Buy the goods at a pre-announced procurement price and keep them in the buffer stock. And whenever there is a drought, whenever there is a fall in production or some other problem in agricultural production, release the grains from the food grain stock, from the buffer stock, and that will make the prices stable. Another example of market failure is in the case of pure public goods. I have just put the word pure in order to emphasize and give you an extreme example where what is a public good can become very clear. And we can look at it with an example. National defense is a pure public good. Why? Because it satisfies two characteristics of public goods. The first characteristic is non-excludability. You cannot exclude anyone from enjoying the defense good. So when you are in your house, which is very close to the border, you cannot tell the enemy that you can bomb my neighbor's house, please don't bomb my house. When the enemy bombs, they bomb. So everybody gets affected. If one person is enjoying protection, you cannot exclude anybody else from enjoying that same protection. So that is non-excludability. Second characteristic of public goods is non-rival. Rival means competition. So non-rival means your consumption does not decrease the consumption for somebody else. In case of pure public goods, there is no private provision. Nobody is going to provide defense, because if defense goes private, for example, then the price is going to be charged. And how will people pay? Everybody thinks economically. So people will say, I will pay only if I have benefit. Nobody will declare that he has benefit. No, I am not benefited, I am not affected, I will not pay. Therefore, and then nobody will pay, and the market will fail completely. And that is why government has to step in, and government has to provide these goods. Principle 8. The standard of living depends upon a country's production. You can look at a country's standard of living and production in two ways. You can either look at the personal per capita income of the people, or you can compare the total market value of a nation's production. When we take up these criteria in this picture here, you can see how the world can be divided into different classes of per capita income, where India is falling somewhere in the lower middle income category. Or alternatively, you could look at the total value of gross national product. And when you look at the total value of gross national product, India is doing very well. So we are among the top 5, and maybe we are among the top 3. And we are extremely high in terms of the total national income produced. But when you divide that by the population, then we go into the lower middle income category. The key word in determining the standard of living of a country is productivity. Why are the developed countries developed? And why are we poor? It's because they are more productive than us. So productivity, which basically is the amount of goods and services produced, say, by a worker in an hour, this varies and it is much, much higher in the developed countries. Here we have illustrated some of the food grains. We consider that our wheat production and rice productivity is very good, but when we compare with the other big names, we find that we are lower in productivity when compared to them. The principle 9, prices rise when the government prints too much money. When the government prints too much money, the value of money falls. This happens because prices start rising so rapidly that with the same amount of money you can buy fewer and fewer goods. And inflation is one of the problems that all developing countries especially face. Two ways in which we can measure inflation are looking at the wholesale price index, which is tracking the average price of wholesale commodities sold in wholesale. On the other hand, we have the more realistic consumer price index, which affects all of us. The 10th principle. Society faces a short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment. Now, both the things we do not want. We don't want inflation, we don't want unemployment. But what has been observed is we have to tolerate some of both of them, or if you want less of one, then you have to tolerate more of the other. And this happens for very, very simple reasons that can be dynamically worked out. Take a simple case. The government prints money because it wants unemployment to go down. This money comes into the economy, and this money then creates jobs. People start producing goods. More people start earning income, and as the jobs are created, unemployment goes down, but prices start rising. So there is a trade-off. Now there is a disagreement between economists about whether this trade-off really continues in the long run. And some of them say that this is a short-run trade-off. In the long run, what happens is the society, once it becomes developed, it settles at a comparatively low natural rate of unemployment, which we call here as NAIRU, that is non-accelerating inflation rate of unemployment. So unemployment settles at this, and at this level of unemployment, you have some constant amount of inflation which is continuing. That means it is said by some that the trade-off is only a short-run trade-off. So, this was just an insight into the 10 commandments, if I may call it that, or the 10 principles of economics. Why is it important that you all should be familiar with these general principles is that your functioning in your day-to-day life also improves. And then you could of course take up a career as an economist. There are so many different types of economists. You could be a micro or a macro economist, which is the most popular. You could choose one of the things. And even when you study your undergraduate economics, a favorite question among students is, do you like micro or do you like macro? So microeconomics and macroeconomics, these are two important fields that you can choose from. What is the difference? Micro is about one unit, consumer, firm. Macroeconomics is about the entire country, the whole world. That means you are increasing the scale of everything and looking at the whole picture rather than a part of it. And economists of course make predictions. So here somebody once jokingly said that the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics is that microeconomists are wrong about specific things and macroeconomists are wrong about things in general. But no problem, economists can always survive and keep you engaged still. Why? Because an economist is one who will tell you tomorrow why what he told you yesterday did not come true today. So an economist is never out of job. When the economy is doing well, the economist says, I told you so, you listened to me, good for you. The economy has done well. If the economy doesn't do well, the economist says, you didn't listen carefully to what I told you. You have to listen carefully. You have to follow the entire detailing, the modeling that I gave you. Now anyway, you employ me and I'll tell you how to set the problem right. So whether the economy is up or the economy is down, the economist is always up. Many other economics fields you can take up: financial, international, industrial, labor, public finance. And then you can apply this knowledge to different fields and be totally relevant for the country and feel good about it. So if you take up economics as a major, then are you going to be called an economist? If you are going to be called an economist, you could work with business companies. Now businesses, firms also have the position of an economist. Banks have the position of an economist. You name the field and they require an economist at least as a consultant. You could work with the government, just like we have IAS, Indian Administrative Service, we have IES, Economic Service, Reserve Bank of India. So there are so many fields that are open, or you could be an academic economist and you could get into research. Some of the important noteworthy things that we as youngsters today, all the youngsters want to look for something more. So there is something more that economics has to offer to you. Not just that there are a variety of careers apart from the different types of economists that we just looked at. You could work as a financial analyst, market analyst, you could work as a trainer because you learn so many aspects about everything, public policy consultant and so on. Apart from that, the other important thing about economics is, and this is really something which research has been done and it has been found out, that economists and people with majors in economics, they earn higher salaries on an average as compared to the other social science majors. The other attractive thing about economics is, whatever may be your field, whatever may be your research, you are living in big cities. So you enjoy all the comforts of the metros. Even if you are working on poverty, you will just collect the data and you will be sitting comfortably in your home using the internet, analyzing and coming up with your ideas. What is useful in economics? If you are good at quantitative skills, it really helps. If you have basic computer knowledge, you need not have hi-fi computer knowledge. Just basic computer knowledge, it helps you with analysis. Good communication skills are extremely important. So the language barriers have to be broken, where we as Indians, we are having actually to learn 2, 3, 4 languages. But we have to break the barrier of language. We have to be conversant in more than one language if we want to really do a job well. You can of course go in for BA, MA, you can go in for MBA, you can go in for MBE, Master of Business Economics. In all these areas, even MBA and MBE, everywhere economics is taught. So no matter what you do, if you are an engineering students also, engineering students also study economics. So wherever you are, what you are, economics never leaves you. And at all these levels, what is taught to you to begin with are the 10 principles of economics that we just took a look at today. So you are having an advantage when you major in economics, that these are things that are already you are familiar with them. Number of leading economic institutes are there in India, and these people are turning out postgraduates which are working all over the world today. They are in high demand. Delhi School of Economics is considered at par with London School of Economics and with all the other top economics colleges in the world. And at the same time we have ISI, the Indian Statistical Institute, also terrific but requiring very, very good mathematics and econometric skills. JMU, then you have Indian Statistical Institute I just told you about. Right in Bombay, we have Indira Gandhi Institute of Developmental Research, but how many of us have really heard of this institute that is tucked away in a corner of Goregaon? This institute is turning out the best research brains in the country. A small campus that is totally funded by Reserve Bank of India. The fee structure, very, very low. And how you get into all these institutes, including Gokhale, including IIMs, is through the entrance exam. So they all have an entrance exam, so we have to go beyond the curriculum. And when you're studying for your exam, you don't have to narrowly just look at that. You have to go into international textbooks of certain standards, and you have to refer to them. That's when you get prepared for these exams and these institutes. Not just within the country, you could go outside the country also. And there are so many different organizations that offer you jobs as well as careers and internships. You just have to go on the net, search out these institutions, and you find all of them offer internships to young graduates when they are right in their second year or they're in the third year. So the idea of this very brief insight was to maybe try and attract you into majoring in economics. Basically plan your future, because like we pointed out in the very first few principles, that decisions are made by the people by looking at their marginal benefits and marginal costs. So you have to weigh your benefits and costs of choosing any discipline, and then decide, only then decide to major in any one. Don't just follow the rat race. Don't just go in the direction your friends are going. Think calculatively. Respond to incentives. Think rationally. Once you do that, excellent career opportunities lie ahead, and of course, high paying degrees. I already told you about that. Flexibility and a solid foundation will be laid for you. So with that, I would conclude my brief session. The idea was just to give you an insight, and now the process continues with my colleagues. Thank you.
Very good morning to all of you. I will present before you market structure. All of you know about the various type of market in your country. Then this market structure or the markets is broadly categorized into two types. Let me speak before that what is market. Market means it is a place where buyer and sellers meet each other to effect a transaction. But in economic sense, we can define it specifically. It is a system through which the buyer and seller, they are coming together and they are doing the transaction. They are actually bargain for the price of a product, and they will set the price and transact the whole business, that is the buying and selling of the product. Then the market is broadly categorized into two types. One is your perfect competition and another one is your imperfect competition. In imperfect competition, you will see there are three types. One is your monopoly market, and the second one is monopolistic competition, and the third one is oligopoly market. Let me speak about what is perfect competition. So in perfect competition, you will find various features. The most important features are large number of buyers and sellers. That means in this market, you will find the number of large buyers and sellers are large. Each individual buyers and sellers is having no influence in the market. That means the individual buyer and seller cannot decide the price of the commodity. They have to follow the price which is determined in the industry. Second important feature of this perfect competition is homogeneous products. That means the product which is transacted in this market or which is bought and sold in this market is homogeneous. That means identical in size, quality, quantity, etc. And then the third point is that free entry to and exit from the industry. That means any firm can enter into this industry and the existing firm can exit from that industry. And then the fourth point is that perfect knowledge. That means each individual buyer and seller, they have perfect knowledge regarding the market. Regarding the market means they have knowledge regarding the price of the product as well as they have the knowledge regarding the demand and supply prevailing in that market. Then the fourth feature is that perfect mobility of factors of production. That means the factors of production, especially your labor and capital, that is perfectly mobile within this type of market. And then the last point is that the transaction cost is assumed as nil. That means there is no transport cost at all. It is assumed that the product is moving from the place of production process, production field to the market. There is no cost involved in that. So there is no transport cost at all. So here the industry is the price maker and the firm, that is the production unit, is the price taker. So how the price of the commodity is determined under your perfect competition? The price of the commodity is determined by the total demand and total supply of the commodity, and that will then the price of that product will be fixed, and that price will be followed by each individual firm. That means the seller will sell the product in this market at that price only, and the buyer has to pay that price to get that commodity. So this is the equilibrium, this is the determination of price under your perfect competition. Next, what are the example of this perfect competitive market? You cannot, in realistic world, actually you cannot see the exact pure perfect competition. You will find the various markets that are more or less close to the perfect competition. The examples are financial market, stock exchanges, and then currency market, bond market, and you can take the example of agricultural market, and then street food vending. So let us take the example of street food vending. That means you will find these street food vendors in different developing countries. So these street food vendors, they have the product. That means there are many numbers of your food vendors, and they will sell more or less the identical product, and more or less you will find the same price that is prevailing in one particular area, and the price will be determined by total demand and total supply of that food, and the food vendor have to sell their product at that price. If you will increase the price of that food, then nobody will go to that vendor to purchase the commodity. So it is one of the example of your perfect competitive market. And let us take the example of stock market. In stock market also you will find there are large number of buyers and sellers, and the price of the stock is determined by total demand and total supply. And here also each individual buyer or seller of the stock has no influence upon the price of the stock. So next market is your monopoly market. So what is that monopoly market? In monopoly market you will find various features that is totally different from that of your perfect competition. In monopoly market you will find that there is only one single seller. That means here the firm and the industry are synonymous. That means the firm and industry are more or less the same one. The firm constitute the industry. But in perfect competition you will find that there is the difference between two concepts, that is firm and industry. That means in industry there are a number of firms, large number of firms. So you will find in industry there are in a large number of firms, they are producing or they are selling the identical products. But here in case of monopoly market there is one single seller that constitute the industry. And the second feature of this market is unique product. That means the product that is of this market has no close substitute in that market. The seller, since there is only one single seller, he or she will sell the same, that one product, unique product, and all the buyer have to purchase that commodity from that seller. And then the third point is that the firm is the price maker. That single seller is the price maker in that market. That means that firm has considerable control over the whole market. But we should not think that since it is if the single seller have full monopoly power, it cannot influence the price of the commodity as well as the selling the quantity sold by him in the market. So at one time he can decide the price and he will leave the quantity to be quantity sold depend upon the market. And then the next point is entry or exit is blocked. That means there is restriction to entry and exit of this industry. Then last point is downward sloping demand curve. Here the demand curve of the monopolist is sloping downward. The meaning is that the monopolist can sell more quantity of the commodity only when it will reduce the price. Otherwise, it cannot sell more and more quantity of the commodity in the market. So you will find that these are the two curves. One is D curve that represent your average revenue curve, and MR curve represent marginal revenue curve of the monopolist in the market. What are the examples of monopoly market? Here the examples are mainly public franchise, that means government monopolies. Here we can take the case of public utility services. Government railways is one of the best example of your monopoly market. That means nobody apart from the government is supplying, is giving or is providing us the railway services. So the government has full control over that area. And then we can take the example of also your BMC, okay, that is providing you or supplying drinking water facility. So it has full command or full control over the whole market. It is deciding the price or the rate at which you are supplied the water. And then second point is other examples are your patent, copyrights, etc. So this is the example of monopoly. That means your government, railway department of your government, that is one of the example of monopoly market, and one seller dominates the market with no close substitutes at all. The third type of market is monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition means it is a mixture or it is a blending of two markets. You will find the features of your perfect competitive market as well as monopoly market. That means what are the features of this monopolistic competition? You will find large number of buyers and sellers in monopolistic competition. And then second point is that here I can say something about your large number of buyers and sellers. Here the buyers or sellers are large in number, and each individual buyers and sellers cannot influence or cannot have command upon the price of the commodity, but they may have or they will have some independent policy regarding the output or regarding the price as well as output of that product. And then second point is that close substitute product. The product of this market will have close substitutes. Each companies or each firm can have their own product. You can take the example of shampoo, or you can take the example of toothpaste. So you will find different brand in your toothpaste. जैसे कि Colgate, and you will get others things. What are the other brands? Pepsodent, etc. And in shampoo also you will get the same commodity is provided by different companies. Like you are getting shampoo for Dove, and then your Sunsilk and other things are there. These companies are providing the same product and they are satisfying the same human wants. But on the getting more profit in the industry, the new firms will be attracted into that industry. And on the other hand, if some firms are getting lost in due course of time or for a long period of time, they can exit from this industry. So this free entry of the new firm into the industry and exit from this industry will enable all the firms to get the normal profit in the long run in this market. And then the next point is product differentiation. The firms or the sellers, they are using product differentiation technique to have their own independent policy or independent command over the market. I have already told you that the product of one firm, the products can be differentiated from each other by different techniques. So the techniques may be by your changing the by giving brand names, or by changing the size of the commodity, or by changing the quality of that commodity, taste, color, etc. The one product can be differentiated from another. That means there is competition in this market. So each firm will want to prove their product as superior over the product of other companies or other firms. Oligopoly markets are your supermarket, banking industry, chemicals, oils, and your medicinal drug, broadcasting. We can take the best example, that is OPEC. What is OPEC? Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. So in OPEC there are few countries. They are actually, you know the name of the countries, those are Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, etc. This OPEC has been formed in the year 1960, and then in 1973 also the number of countries that has been increased in this OPEC organization, and they are controlling 3/4 of the oil production in our world, and they have the command over the total production, as well as they have decided, they are continuously revising the price of the oil product in the whole world. Then let me compare these four types of market. In perfect competition, you will find the number of firms are large. Like that, in monopolistic competition also, there are large number of firms. But in oligopoly, few firms are there. And in pure monopoly, there is only one firm that will exist in that market. And next, freedom of entry. Freedom of entry. Here, in perfect competition, there is free entry and exit. That means the freedom of entry is unrestricted. And in monopolistic competition also you find free entry and exit of the firm. And then in oligopoly firm, there are some restriction on the entry of the new firm into the industry. And here, in case of pure monopoly, the entry is totally restricted or entry is fully blocked. And then regarding the nature of product, in perfect competition, you will find homogeneous product. But in monopolistic competition, your product is differentiated. And in oligopoly market, you will find the homogeneous product as well as differentiated product. But in pure monopoly, you will find the unique type of product. And then the examples I have already explained to you, and about the demand curve also I have explained. In perfect competition, the firm is a price taker. So the demand curve of the firm is horizontal straight line. It is perfectly elastic. And then in your pure monopoly, you will find the demand curve is sloping downward from left to right. That means downward sloping demand curve. And in your but it is less elastic in case of your monopoly competition. In monopolistic competition, the demand curve is also downward sloping, but it is more elastic than that of your monopoly market. But in oligopoly market, the demand curve is totally indeterminate. We will find kinked demand curve in your oligopoly market. So this is the comparative study of market structure. Thank you.
Taken the topic, today we are going to discuss about the business economics. Okay, there is a new branch here. We will discuss about the business. Here anybody wants to be the entrepreneur, anybody wants to be the businessman, they have to follow some rules from the business economics. So business economics is a base. Without business economics, you can't reach up to the success. Okay, so I have taken the topic which is law of variable proportion. The law of of variable proportion, the name suggests that you can increase your output with the help of variable proportional factors. Okay, so I will give you here example. I came for this presentation. That time I have to give some outputs. So what will be my output? My lecture is my output. But without input I can't give the output. So what is my input? I have to study lots of books. I have taken lots of internet things and I have taken some examples. I have learned, I process in my mind, and now I am giving my output. So output is, in the simple meaning, output means nothing but a production. The term production means creation of utility. So there is a need, that is why I will create a product, and my product is nothing but my lecture, my presentation. So input, process and output. These are the three stages. Okay. So what is the production function now? The production function is the relationship between input and output. Input, which means raw material, which is converted into output. Okay, so the objective of this topic or my presentation is, we will learn what is the short run in the economy, what is the long run in the economy, what is the total product in the short, TP, what is the average product, that is AP, what is the marginal product, MP. So we will learn short run, long run, total product, marginal product, average product, three brothers. Okay, these are the three brothers. Out of these three brothers, AP and MPs are younger one. Why they are younger? Because they are coming from where? They are getting the ideas of their own from the total product. So if we have a total product, we will get average product as well as marginal product. Okay, so we will learn short run, long run, total product, marginal product and average product. What is the short run in the long run? In the financial way, if we'll ask anyone, the layman, what is a short run? So एक ही answer मिलता है. What is the answer? Short run means up to 1 year. Investment up to 1 year. Savings up to 1 year. If whatever thing is up to 1 year. 1 year. So we will always heard about 1 year. It is a short run. What is a long run? 5 years, 10 years, it is known as a long run. But in economics, short run is different, long run is different. For this theory, the short run is, we have two types of factors. One factor which is a fixed factor and the another factor is variable factor. Okay, I will give you the example. We have a Xerox center, we have a copy center here. Okay, how many colleges we have? We have a Vivekanand College, Arts, Commerce, Science. We have a Commerce Department, we have a Science Department, we have a Polytechnic, we have a lots of colleges. And we have only one Xerox center. If we'll go to the Xerox center, so वो क्या बोलेगा? अरे what a demand, what a demand. Okay, so there is a lots of demand. So students are going there. Always there is a crowd among them. So they are very busy. तो वो लोग क्या करते हैं? They will ignore you. No, we will not give you right now. Come afterwards. Okay. So what happened? I have decided I want to open the new Xerox center. So if I want to compete that Xerox center, I will require two factors. So what are the two factors for me? For me, I have a variable factor, I have a fixed factor. So what I will take? First I will take my machine. Without machine and without land, I can't work. So my fixed factors are machines and land. Okay, what is my variable factor? My variable factors are my papers. Because it's changing. एक का एक paper हम लोग डाल के Xerox, we can't copy the print, we can't print. So we will require the papers. So papers are variable factor for me. Okay, so I have a fixed factor, I have a variable factor. I can't change my fixed factor every day. Okay, with आज नया Xerox copy निकाला, tomorrow I will get new. It is not possible. It will work. It is a fixed. That is why it will work up to 2 years. Then later on it will be depreciated. But what about the papers? I can't use one paper every time. I have to change the paper. So change the paper means variable factor and machine is fixed factor. Okay, so we got the what is a fixed factor, what is a variable factor. So if I want to increase my output, I have to copy more and more papers. then my variable factor is changing, my output is also increasing. So here, in the short run, variable factors are changing, whereas fixed factor are not changing. In long run, both the factors are changing. Okay, so that is why in the economics, the short run can be defined. A firm cannot vary all the inputs. The factor which cannot be varied is called fixed input. Other which can be varied is a variable input. In the long run, here all the inputs factors of production can be varied, therefore no fixed input. So in the long run, variable factor also become fixed input. Sorry, all the factors become variable. Okay. What is a production function? The meaning of production function means any activity leading to value addition, transformation of input into the output. I have given the example, same thing. Whatever lecture I am taking, I have to prepare something. So preparation is my input and lecture delivery is my output. In between, I have some process in my mind. So we can frame this production function in the equation. The equation is Q stands for quantitative or output have a functional relationship with L and K. What is the L? It is a land, and K means capital. Okay, so we have four factors of production: land, labor, capital and entrepreneur. So here we will take L as a labor. So we have a labor and capital. Why we are taking? Because we are studying the law of variable proportion. We want one variable factor, one fixed factor. Labor is a variable factor, capital is fixed factor. Okay. What is total product? I told you about the three brothers, TP, AP, MP. What is TP? TP is a total product. The total product can be defined for a variable input, the relationship between the variable inputs and output, keeping all other inputs constant. Average product, the output per unit of variable input. So in the formula, we can write AP equals to TP, that is total product, divided by quantity. Next is marginal product, the change in the output per unit of change in the input when all the other inputs are held constant. Here MP1 equals to change in output divided by change in input. The another formula is TPN minus TPN minus 1. You have studied three brothers of utility also. Total utility, marginal utility and average utility. So same concept we have taken for the product. Okay, so here we have a TP, AP and MP. Now we will see what is a production function. We have seen what is a statement of the law, and this law is based on the assumptions. Assumptions means we have to prove our law with some exceptions. So for this we are taking something is assumed. We'll give you the example. When I come to the class, I feel there is a lots of students, they are talking. So to give my lecture better, what I will do, I will assume that they are static. There is no change in their behavior. They are like a putlas. They will not talk. So this is my assume. Okay, I assume. It is known as it is a assumption. So this law is also depend upon the assumptions. So assumptions are only one factor input varies, other remain constant. Second, all the units of the variable inputs are homogeneous. And the third one, technology remain the same. Means there is no change in technology. Okay, to explain the law of variable proportion, I have a table. This table will give you the clear idea about the production. So here we have two factors. The two factors are land and labor. So land, there is no change in land. How can we measure the land? There is no change in land by writing 1 acre in each and every series. So from 1 to 7 or 8 numbers, we have written land as a 1 acre, 1 acre, 1 acre. Whereas labor is in the increasing form. It is increasing. So labor is 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is the total product? As I have changed, what is changing? Land is not changing, labor is changing. So here we have proved that labor is variable factor because it is changing. Whereas land, there is no change in land, that is why it is a fixed factor. Okay, so we got here the fixed factor and variable factor. Fixed factor, there is no change in because it is a short run. Labor is increasing from 0 to 6. Then what is the total product? As I have changed what? I have changed labor. As labor changes, my total product also increase. So you can see that my total product is 0, 4, 10, 15, 17, 17, 15. But you can see the total is increasing from 0 to 17 first and then it is decreasing 70 to 15. So we can say that total product increasing and then it become maximum, that is 17, and then it is diminishing. Second is average product. I told you average product and marginal product both are the brothers and they are the youngers. So it is depend upon the total product. So average product is depend upon total product. To find out the average product, we have to apply the formula of total product divided by labor. So we will find out that total product is 0, that is why my average product is also 0. Total product is 4, labor is 1 divided by 4. That is answer is 4. Then total product is 10, labor is only 2. So my average product is 5. Likewise, we will get the average product which is first increasing, become the maximum at 0.5, then only we will get the marginal product. So difference is 0, 0, 0, 4 minus 0 is a 4, 10 minus 4 is 6, 15 minus 10 is 15, which is showing the change in the total product. Okay, so we can learn through other formula also. This table can be explained in the diagram form. In the diagram, it is a must. You have to write down what you are measuring in x-axis and y-axis. नहीं तो पता नहीं चलेगा घोड़ा कहाँ है गधा कहाँ है, right? तो घोड़ा गधा कहाँ पे लिखना है, you have to remember. So here we have a two axis, y 0 x. In the x-axis, what we are taking? We are taking variable input, which means we have taken labor. In y-axis, we have a TP, AP, MP. That is three brothers, total product, marginal product and average product. Same with the help of schedule, we have to draw this diagram. In the diagram, total product first increases up to point F, then it again increases and then reach to the maximum point and slowly and gradually it's declining. Okay. Second point is our AP. AP is first increasing. In the second state, it is started decreasing, and the third state also it's decreasing, but it not become the negative. Whereas MP is first increasing, then drastically decreasing, and then become the 0, and then become the negative. So this diagram is divided into three parts. The first part is known as increasing stage. Second part is known as constant stage, and the third part is known as decreasing stage.